My name is Demi, and I am a college teacher. People think teaching is easy, but they don't see the chaos. Restless student, fresh out of high school, noisy, distracted, careless. Some days I question if I picked the wrong job. But then one student walked in, Kaden. And from that moment, everything I thought I knew about teaching and about myself changed forever. Every morning I walk into my classroom with hope. I carry my books, my notes, my lesson plans. I prepare carefully because I want my students to learn. But as soon as I enter, the noise begins. The boys sit at the back. They laugh. They throw paper. They shout jokes to each other. Some of them put their heads on the desk and pretend to sleep. Good morning, I say. Nobody answers. Please take out your notebooks, I say again. One boy groans loudly. Another says, Why? This is boring. I try to keep my calm because we need to prepare for the exam, I reply. But they do not care. They pass their phones under the desk. They whisper. They laugh. I raise my voice, but it is like shouting at a wall. At the end of the day, when the students fail or when they fall behind, it is not them who are blamed. It is me. The head of department calls me to the office. Demi, she says, your students are not improving. Why is that? I try my best, I answer. They do not listen. They do not do the assignments. They come late. She shakes her head. A good teacher makes students learn. If they fail, it means the teacher failed. I walk out of her office feeling heavy, as if a rock is on my chest. I think nobody blames the students. Everyone blames me. One semester, a new student joined my class. His name was Kaden. At first, I thought he was just another restless boy. But soon I learned he was worse than the others. When I explained something, he would interrupt. This is stupid, he said one day. Excuse me? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. This subject is useless. Why should I learn it? The class laughed, and I felt my face grow hot. Another time, when I asked him to write notes, he picked up his pen and threw it on the floor. No, he said simply, staring at me with a smirk. Leave my class, I ordered, my voice shaking. He stood up slowly, looked around at the students, and then walked out, kicking a chair on the way. Later that day, the headmistress called me to her office. Demi, she said, her voice firm. I heard you told a student to leave your class. You must never insult a student in that way. Because he was rude, I said quickly. He refused to listen. He threw things at me. What should I do? You must cope with him, she said coldly. You are the adult. You must work harder. You will not send him out again. I left her office, trembling with anger and sadness. I thought no one supports me, not even the headmistress. The weeks passed. Kaden made my life harder every day. He arrived late on purpose. Sometimes walking in with loud footsteps. He spoke when I spoke. He laughed when I tried to explain. Once, he even threw a small eraser at me while I was writing on the board. The class laughed again. My cheeks burned. At night, I sat at my desk at home, staring at the pile of papers to mark. My hands covered my face, and tears slipped through my fingers. Maybe teaching is not for me, I whispered to myself. Maybe I should resign. One rainy afternoon, after another horrible day, I drove home slowly. My head hurt, and I thought again about quitting. Then I saw something that changed everything. On the side of the road, near a small shop, I saw Kaden. He was standing with a man, and at once I knew it was his father. The man was red with anger, shouting so loudly that people turned to look. "You are useless," the father screamed. His hand came down hard across Kaden's face. Kaden stumbled back, holding his cheek, his eyes full of shame and pain. I froze in my car. My heart pounded. In that moment, I understood the anger in Kaden's eyes at school, the way he mocked me, the way he tried to push me. It was not just because he was bad. It was because he was hurt. I drove away, but the image stayed in my mind all night. I could not sleep. I thought, he is just a child in pain. He does not need more punishment. He needs someone to understand him. The next day, I walked into class with a new decision. "Good morning," I said softly. As always, the class was loud. Kaden sat at the back, leaning in his chair, his eyes hard. Instead of fighting him, I tried something new. "Kaden," I said gently, "can you help me hand out these papers?" He looked surprised. "Why me?" "Because I trust you," I said. He stared at me for a moment, then slowly stood up and took the papers. He passed them around without a word. That was the first small step. Over the next weeks, I tried to be kind, even when he was rude. When he made a joke, I did not shout. I smiled and continued. When he refused to write, I sat beside him and said quietly, "Just try one line, only one. You can do it." He rolled his eyes, but he wrote the line. One day after class, when everyone left, he stayed behind. He stood near my desk, awkward, his hands in his pockets. "Miss," he said, not looking at me, "why are you nice to me? I make your life hard." I looked at him carefully. "Because I know life is not easy for you, Kaden. I know you carry heavy things in your heart. I do not want to add more weight." He swallowed, his eyes shining for a moment, and then he left without a word. Slowly things changed. Kaden stopped throwing things. He still made jokes sometimes. He started writing more in his notebook. He even answered questions. One morning, when the class was loud, he raised his voice and said, "Shut up, guys, let her speak." I almost could not believe it. Later, after class, he came to me. "Miss," he said, "I am sorry for everything. I was. I was angry, but it wasn't about you." I smiled at him. "I know. Thank you for telling me." At that moment, I felt something warm in my heart. I thought this is why I teach. Not for the grades, not for praise, but for moments like this, for change. Teaching is still hard. The students are still restless. The system still blames me when they fail. Some days I still feel tired and hopeless. But now I remember Kaden. I remember that every student has a story behind their eyes, a story I cannot always see. Some stories are heavy with pain. Some students do not need punishment, they need patience. When I think of resigning, I remember that day on the road, the father's hand, the boy's shame, and I remember the later day when the same boy said, I am sorry. That is the burden of a teacher, but it is also the gift.